Okay, so did you have a good work-life balance in Japan?
Yes, for the most part. Well, I mean, I guess so. Here's the thing. I don't think that I worked too much in general. There were a couple where, like, for example, during my during the first few months that I was working the ninja job, one of my coworkers got injured.
Mm.
And at that time, so actually, when I joined the team, there were Hanzo, Sanpei, Suiren, Rin, Nanashi, and Satori. Satori was my ninja name. Um,
Satori?
Satori, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I think, if I recall correctly, when I joined the team, there were six of us.
Okay.
Shortly after I joined, one of the members unexpectedly quit. So that took us
No.
down to five members.
Mm.
So, and the way the ninja team functions, basically we do performances on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, and then sometimes we would get other gigs. But
Mm.
we would do two shows on Saturday and two shows on Sunday at Nagoya-jo, at Nagoya Castle.
Mhm.
And so generally speaking, with six members, we could have two versions of the show because each show had to have at least three members.
Mhm.
And then every once in a while, we would have a show with all members, but generally speaking, the shows were three members. So with six people, we could have one version of the show with these three people, and then
Mhm.
another version with these three people.
Mm.
But when that member unexpectedly quit,
Mhm.
that meant we only had five members, so someone had to do both versions of the show.
Mm. Mhm.
And that someone ended up being me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Which, looking back on it, it's very funny to me that they did that to me, like as I was like the new person, and they're like, "Yeah, let's have you do both shows and do
Oh.
like." So that meant that I was basically doing four shows every weekend. I was performing twice on Saturday and twice on Sunday, and it was kind of a lot, like acrobatics and like like crazy stuff. So that was a lot, but it was manageable. It was just tough on my body, but it was still fine because usually most days I would still have like 1 to 3 days off a week. Usually two. Most weeks I would have 2 days off. So like most
Mm.
people. But then one of our members got injured. So we only had five remaining members and one of them got injured. So we were
Mm.
trying to do the job basically with four people. And I remember I think there was one time when I had to work like 11 days in a row or something like that with
11
no.
days in a row.
Yeah, I think so. I worked like 11 days in a row with no day off in there or
Mm.
anything. Um, it was something like that, 11 or 12 days. And for me that I remember one of my coworkers had it even worse during that period. He had to work like 14 days in a row, so like a full two
Mm.
weeks, I think. So there were times like that when it was very busy, but for the most part, it wasn't that busy, and we would have like 2 days off a week. And then,
Mm.
like, during the pandemic, it was even more a lot of times. Like, during the pandemic, I would often have like 3 days off a week because
Mm.
we were less busy because of the pandemic. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, but so basically it was pretty good, I think, work-life balance. For me though, personally, I had to what? I think that I should have been doing more to get out and kind of like go out and meet people and be more social.
Mhm.
But for me, I was doing my ninja job, but I also wanted to continue to cultivate my own dance and my own art. Like, so a lot of times on my days off, I would just stay at home and work on my like dance video projects, things like that, like choreographing and
Mm.
such. So, in terms of the like work-life balance, I think the time wasn't an issue most of the time, but for me personally, I think that I should have been spending more time doing social things.
Mm.
Because I was already isolated, like living alone in a foreign country. I
Mm.
could speak Japanese pretty well, but it wasn't perfect. It still isn't perfect. And so that still was like another level of stress and loneliness to me, especially being the only foreigner on a team of like in a company that was all Japanese people. And then on top of that, even on my days off, I would just spend it alone. So
Mm.
I think that I should have I would have done better for myself if I had been more social. Granted, again, most of the time I was living there, it was during the pandemic, so that also made things difficult. But yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing your experience. Okay, you were a newbie, but you had to work very hard right after you became a member of the ninja team. Okay, that was the start. And then you started working as a ninja very hard. And then gradually it got better.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So didn't you go out for a drink with your colleagues? You said that you didn't enjoy social life and you felt isolated on weekends. But you meet people on weekdays, right? You met people on weekdays. So didn't you go out with your friends or colleagues?
Sometimes, but not very often.
Okay.
We would often be working, because the thing was there were so few members on the ninja team that it was hard to do things with people because when I had days off, then usually they were working or.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
That being said, we did every once in a while find time to do that, or sometimes the company would have some sort of nomikai, or I think when I started, they gave me a kange kai as well, a welcoming party. So every once in a while there were things like that, but generally speaking, we didn't spend a whole lot of time together outside of work. But yeah.
I thought you guys would hang out a lot, but okay. So did you often hang out with Japanese or foreigners in Japan?
Yeah, so I guess during when I was living in Tokyo at language school, I hung out with quite a few foreigners and some Japanese as well because I was living in a big share house. And I think about half the residents were Japanese and the other half were foreigners. So I hung out with a lot of foreigners and then some Japanese as well. All of my language school peers and classmates were foreigners, so I would hang out with them. I made a lot of Taiwanese friends at language school, so that was fun. But once I moved to Nagoya, like I said, I didn't have much social life, so my best friends were my coworkers, and we would get along great at work, but we didn't spend a whole lot of time outside of work together. And I only had a couple other friends outside of work, honestly, who I would hang out with when I was living in Nagoya. So, yeah. One of them, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say my cousin actually lived in Japan as well. She
Zero.
lived exactly, yeah. Oh yeah, the one in the video. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple times we were able to hang out together.
Okay.
But she lived in Okayama for most of the time while I was in Japan. Yeah. But occasionally we would be able to be together and hang out and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah.
So, okay. So you guys could meet each other in Japan.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you say that you had a few foreign friends?
Yes. Yeah. And it looks like we are going to run out of time, but I can talk about that more next time if you're curious. Cool. All right. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, in 2 weeks. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you, Taku.
Thank you
Take
so much.
care.
Have a good one. 現在、英語コーチング、英語ティーチングの生徒さんを募集しています。英語力が伸び悩んでいる、TOEIC の点数が頭打ちしている、継続することが難しい。このような方は無料カウンセリングへどうぞ。下の概要欄のリンクから申し込むことができます。ぜひ無料カウンセリングでお会いしましょう。